information, inspire, and maybe get us some way along the line to start us towards a SAS ballot. So I will recap what's happened to SAS Pay. Most of us know what has happened, but I'm just going to put it in perhaps my own personal way. Why and what we can do about it, or what we need to do about it. So the first thing I'd like to say before even talking about pay is that SAS doctors, as just pointed out, are incredibly undervalued within the NHS. We all know that we're not given the opportunity to progress as we should, and yet consultants and managers rely upon us to take a disproportionate burden of clinical work and responsibilities. Much of the NHS don't really understand who we are. For example, weekend I was working with a consultant who I've known for 13 years, and he's known me for 13 years, and he literally said to me, he turned around and he said to me, "Who the bleep were SAS?" He had a clue who SAS were and who they were. There's also very little about SAS doctors in the media, and the GMC themselves, they don't even know how many SAS doctors exist and in what cities they work. I think there's a lot of us, most of us here, all of us here really, are working hard to change the situation with regard to SAS in terms of SAS positivity. But my point is, we don't owe the NHS anything, and we certainly don't owe this government anything whatsoever. We have been taken for granted for fun, and it's time to change. So in addition to the fact that we're taken for granted, many of us are underpaid for the work that we do. Whilst there's plenty of junior SAS doctors amongst us who maybe have just as much as 4 years undergraduate experience, postgraduate experience, sucking up in almost exactly the same capacity as a consultant in our day-to-day work. Yet SAS salary, even that of specialists, is ultimately significantly less consultant colleagues. We don't get CEA awards, and we often have to work laborious resident shifts, often well into our advanced years. So from an employer's perspective, SAS are incredibly cost effective, but essentially we are cheap labour. And on top of all of this, you know, this was all true 15 years ago, but since then, the Conservative programme of austerity after the financial crisis has led to SAS pay, like all medicine, being eroded to an even worse situation. Since 2008, our pay has seen a 30% cut in real terms. If somebody said to you tomorrow, "I'm going to pay away," what would you do? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't stand for it. The 6% pay offer that we've seen this year, which is actually less for many of our colleagues on the 2020, is just another sub-inflationary pay cut. I'm sure everybody on this call can feel the effects of this in their day-to-day life. I know plenty of SAS who are early and are lower down on the SAS pay progression, but they're struggling to afford housing costs. That is not an acceptable position. Personally, as somebody who's a bit further on in mid-career, but I'm a single wage earner. I have 2 kids in a 3-bedroom semi-house and a cheap car, and I've noticed that I can't afford to do many of the things to take for granted. You know, holidays used to be, I used to take them for granted, but we can't afford to do that anymore. And I just want to go back to what Matthew was saying. Matthew was saying that I would really have difficulty taking part in industrial action or whatever. I've got a child at home. This is not an acceptable position for us as highly trained and experienced medical professionals. I don't think we can accept it. As mentioned, the SAS colleagues, those of us who are on the new contracts, have been excluded from even receiving some of these sub-awards. Last year, the 2021 SAS colleagues lost out on a 4.5% pay award, and again this year they'll be getting 3% compared to the 6% that other people have got. It makes a complete mockery of the 2021 contracts, and I know very, very few people who have willingly transitioned from the old contracts to the new contracts for legitimate reasons of losing out on pay. So what was the point of contract reform if the government are determined to make them financially unappealing. It's just another insult for SAS. In summary, SAS, we're being taken for mugs by this government. We either need to act now or this trend is going to continue. Indeed, at the BMA SASC we had a few weeks ago, this motion was resoundingly passed to demand pay restoration and to start the process of getting towards a ballot on industrial action. So what have the SAS UK committee been doing? So they've been in contact with Steve Barclay, and I understand regular communications with the government are ongoing as we speak. This really hasn't finished. However, none of us should entertain or be naive and think that SAS will be treated very differently to consultants or junior doctors. So the SAS pay restoration page that we referenced earlier, and there's some pay restoration calculators. We've just had an extraordinary meeting of the SAS UK committee to talk about our. We're calling on all SAS who haven't joined the BMA to do so, and we're calling on all BMA SAS members, please update your details in the BMA. And if you're certain that they're correct, just log on to the BMA website and update them and make sure that they're correct. And it just gives the system extra security. So if there is a postal ballot, it will go out to you and it won't get lost. Finally, we're reaching out through regional meetings like this to try and engage all of our SAS members up and down the country. So the factor that's really going to make or break any chance of a successful ballot is SAS engagement. Historically, and perhaps justifiably, we're not particularly great with engagement. We're a very cynical and skeptical group, and that there's huge justification for some of that. However, sometimes that can translate into learned helplessness, where we assume we have no power to change anything, and that is just completely self-defeating. The response to a pay survey that went out to SAS BMA members last year was 18%. If we have that type of response to an indicative ballot or to a formal ballot, then we're screwed. I'm quite certain that we can do much better than that. So if you're not a BMA member, and I know there's quite a few people who responded to a survey that I put on the BMA or on the London SAS WhatsApp group, who said that members do consider, please do join up. Now is the time. There hasn't been a better time. And if you join up before the end of August, you will get 3 months of membership that's free. That's a super deal. So what can SAS members do? Well, please get in touch with your LNC reps and discuss the pay campaign. And if you don't know who your are, well, first of all, question how effective your LNC reps have been, or perhaps you don't have enough LNC reps, or perhaps you don't have any LNC reps. So please consider joining your local LN for your SAS colleagues. We need help. We need people to help coordinate this campaign. And please do consider, if you don't want to be part of an LNC, if you want to campaign issues, please consider being a local pay campaign in your trust. We need people to help grow our WhatsApp groups, engage with SAS on a one-to-one basis. And if you're interested in that, please do get in touch with either myself or Andrew. If you're not already on the aforementioned WhatsApp group, the SAS Vote WhatsApp group, please do join up. And if you're already there, please spread the word in your local trust. Use this QR code and get your colleagues to join up. I think we have 222 members of the WhatsApp group at the minute, and clearly there's many more SAS across London. And also do join you should have a local group. Please join that as well and start getting these conversations about pay going. So there's a huge number of actions for the regional SAS committees in order to get us ballot ready. And essentially, they're going to be engaging with pay campaigners, with the LNC SAS reps, the LNC chairs, and all of that people will be fundamental to us getting across the line. So in summary, SAS cannot be left behind again. If and when consultants and junior doctors some sort of acceptable pay settlement, if at that time we're absent from the negotiating table and we haven't had the strength or will to unify and demonstrate our collective resolve, almost certain that we will get a bad deal or no additional deal at all. Additionally, I think this campaign in London will have positive effects beyond any industrial dispute. It's long overdue that we as SAS stood up and made our voices heard. So I'm really excited, and I can't wait to see what we can do together. I'm happy to open up the floor to people who want to talk and contribute.
Brilliant, thank you, Imran. Nice and complete messages there. Has anybody got any questions or comments they wish to make?
I think there's something coming up in the
and someone, yeah, go on, you read them out, Imran.
Yeah. So Gur, who's actually from my trust. Hi Gur, hope you're well. And he's asking, do senior clinical fellows get included as SAS? So as a senior clinical fellow, Gur, at the minute, in our trust, you're on a junior doctor contract. So you're locally employed by the trust. And in fact, you're on the 2002 junior doctor contract, although as we've discussed, you should really be a specialty doctor, if not a specialist. Because you're on a junior doctor contract, you don't come into the fold of SAS when it comes to industrial action. So actually, if you want to participate, even though you're not junior by any means, you can participate in this junior doctor strike. But I think the most important thing for me and you is to get you onto a proper SAS contract. There's far too many senior clinical fellows, trust grades, whatever other term you want to call them, who are actually hidden SAS. We need to get you onto a proper SAS contract. So yeah, Gur, if you're a locally employed doctor on a junior doctor contract, as you are, you can't really participate in a SAS strike, but you can in a junior doctor strike, which is ongoing. Okay.
Yeah, and so that might apply differently to different people in different. The best thing is to check your contract. Matthew, you've got your hand up. I don't know whether it's from earlier.
No. It's trying to put things into context, because I did get an email from the from Human Resources regarding whether or not I wanted to change to the new contract. I don't have the time to look into it as much as I really would like to, and my partner is a banker, so she definitely that sort of stuff. I've got a child. I don't want to strike. I would like to support, but I've got wider issues. This new contract that they're trying to say, well, this is an option for you. I've been a SAS doctor for 15 years now, so I'm at the end of the line. So what's the advantage for me to be changing from that to the new contract? I don't, I'm sorry, I don't know if there's a pay progression. Otherwise, I just have to stick on what I'm on.
Yeah. Can I come back on that? Yeah. So Matthew, the short answer is there is no advantage for you as somebody who's at the end of your pay progression on the old contract. I'm presuming you're a specialty doctor. Yeah. So I don't think there is any advantage. The only advantage would be is that given your extensive experience, you'd probably be somebody who would be more suited.
I need to Caesar. I need to Caesar.
Well, no, not necessarily. Caesar is not the only way to progress. There is a senior contract now.
Yeah.
But it in name only. And in fact, as you know, the top end of the 2008 specialty doctor contract is less than the bottom end of the specialist contract. So there's a gap there. Obviously, NHS employers and NHS employers and BMA have all said that you absolutely shouldn't miss out there's not going to be a huge advantage to go for you to go to the new contracts. In fact, for most people, particularly if we're getting sub-inflation, we're getting less than 21 contracts, there isn't huge advantage. But the whole point of contract reform was it was meant to bring advantages. For example, protections in terms of frequency of on calls or a number of weekends you have to do. So some of that's really, really attractive for people. And some of it, even issues, somebody who's really early in their SAS pay journey would probably benefit from being on a 2021 contract, because you go up the pester. So there are advantages for some people, but for the vast majority of us, there probably isn't.
No. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Matthew, if I could just reassure you what you were raising, lots of SAS consultants, juniors will be tackling this question of, whether to take various reasons. So, you talked about one and having children, and you can't afford it. But what I would say to you at the moment is you don't have to make that until you get to the point that a strike is being proposed.
Yeah, fair.
Right.
Fair.
To be able
Vivian Westwood support the junior doctors t-shirt. I bought that and I wore that to the outpatients department, and I'm Australian, so I'm more than happy to strike if I have to, but if it affects childcare and so forth, then obviously I need to balance that up.
All that, but let's cross that bridge when we get to it. And let's try and get there, because unless we do some of the work that in the 12-point plan, we won't even get there. So I'm going to go to Kate A. Kate A. Guest.
Oh yeah, hi, sorry. It was kind of linked to that point, because I've been following all the junior doc. I remember seeing stuff about a BMA strike fund for people who are particularly struggling financially if they wanted to take action. So that's something I'd seen, and I thought I would probably look into that, because I think it's fair to say it's not people, there is a concern, particularly as the action goes on and on. That's not the issue at this point. The issue is making a decision as to whether or not we make a stand and that our colleagues are taking for the same reasons. And I thought Imran's presentation was really helpful to bring that all together, and just asking for the same recognition as our colleagues. And why shouldn't we? Because we're doing the same work, and if anything, we all know that we've had far less from the past. So if anything, we have more of a mandate to ballot. So I think at this point, if we can focus on that decision, thinking about would we want to take strike action or not, and on what basis, I think that's probably the most helpful thing at this point. But thanks for the presentation, Imran. I thought it was really helpful.
Okay, for your comment. I think you put it very well. I'm noticing it and nodding and others nodding, so that's good. I've got them. Can't see full name. Is I think it's Sujatha, is it?
Andrew, my name is.
Hi.
I also raised my hand when.
Oh, sorry, Vikram. Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Do the proper thing. Yes, you are. Vikram, it's your turn.
Okay. Right. Matthew, a quick response to the contract situation. When the contract was agreed, it was peak COVID time. When it was being negotiated, in the couple of years, the pay rise increment was 1%. So it was made in good faith. Now, good faith mean when they decided because of COVID, they go to, instead of 1%, go to give a 3%, then 4.5, and potentially a 6%. So this the lock-in period for the new contract is 3 years. So next to the new contract should and would get the same increment as someone on the old contract. So Matthew, given you're at the highest part of the scale, reopening of the specialist grade, which used to be the good old associate specialist grade, is what we need to focus on. There are a lot of things that need to be done. I think the focus should be given what our colleagues are doing, should be on industrial action. We will be behind if we don't engage at least with them. So and again, so the this meeting would be the indicative ballot, which doesn't mean that you have to strike. You have to indicate whether you want to strike or not, which is different from striking. So it's a long way to go, and we have to be with our colleagues.
Thank you very much for that insight. Yeah, that's very helpful to know. And as I said, the wider SAS group, I would not cross picket lines in support of what is an important. Agree with that. But as I said, I've just got a daughter I need to look after, and she's first and foremost for me.
Action is about causing a problem for our employer. So if you look at the dispute that the juniors have had and the consultants, things are cancellation. It's a lot of waste of money that the government are throwing at this every day. So they ought to sit down and talk to people rather than taking it. And even if you vote because you feel strongly that you should be able to take industrial action, even on the day, if on the day you think, oh, this month I need to go to work, the disruption that we're aiming for has already happened, because the plans of, so you might a nice easy day because there's lots of things that have been cancelled because you're planning a strike. So there's a lot of different ways of viewing these sorts of things, and I think speakers Imran, Vikram, and need to and get focus on thing and get some preparation done. Prepare. So thank you, Vikram, for saying that. And now it's Sujatha. Am I saying that right?
That's correct. Just, I think I was a bit confused. Imran, your presentation said SAS in London. So is this specifically meant for SAS in London, the strike action, or it's England-wide?
No, but this meeting is London. This
Okay.
is a kind of regional meeting of London. Obviously, I'm hoping the committee across the country is doing exactly the same thing, but we need to start in our own region.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Have that understood. And now it's you're wanting.
Hi, so I'm Sandeep. Just wanted to first of all congratulate Imran Sibok, and it's very helpful to have that. We've always had these issues about the undervalued and underpaid and underrepresentation of us. And I think that's a constant struggle that we've always had to fight, every single one of us at every level. So that's very good to just revisit that. And as far as action goes, I think we should all go for the same rights as all doctors are doing, as we can clearly see that being at such a disadvantage in our pay terms, even at present. So I think we've got to put our cards on the table along with the other colleagues, and this will be decided. We can't be left behind anymore. So that's one issue. The other issue about separate, I mean, I think North London and South London, I really want to make an issue vital that we have different committees and in different regions. North London represents North London, and it's not a small committee. It represents a number of hospitals, and the issues, the concerns, all things are very local, and they need to be discussed in that meeting. At times we can have a meeting together. That's absolutely that the main issues that we have in South London, which is quite a huge area again, should be discussed locally. And I think there is no reason to merge the two committees together. We can have meetings, that's absolutely fine. But I really think that we should not do that, because that is just taking away the flavor that has existed for so long and has worked very something we have to, put that forward, because I've been representing South London for a while. I've been an SAS doctor for the last 20 years. I have done my CSER, so I'm working as a, that is irrelevant. We can still see how poorly we are treated, and I can feel that every day. So I think we should all be together in this, and going forward, lay our demands very clearly, and we all should be together in whatever action we take. So that's my take on that. Thank you.
Sandeep, that's absolutely fine. I keep it separate.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Sandeep. All comments are very important to hear. I do want us to, because it's coming up 1:45, move on with the way we go forward, so that I know that I'm going to sort of leave you in the capable hands. I feel better knowing that we've got a plan. So let's just take Kajal, is it? Am I saying that right?
Yep. Hi, Kajal here. Hi. Thanks, Imran and Andrew, for organizing this, and obviously for the whole presentation. I think it was very important to bring everyone, and I do want to stress upon what Imran and everybody else has said in the meeting as well. We are underrepresented. The very causes is, the pay card that BMA introduced. Most of the trusts had no problem whatsoever accepting it for the consultants, but when it was negotiations on the table, it's mainly because the SAS doctors do not ask for it. I think we all need to stand together and ask for our rights, and we all get together on this. And another thing is, like, coming with the COVID, during the consultants, I'm not sure how it works for every trust, but with their CEA awards, because in the COVID they didn't have a chance to do more and over and above everything, and a share of those awards, which is, I think it's unfair. We in COVID were dealt with a poor contract. So I think it is time, it is ourselves and ask for them to pay us up.
Thank you, Kajal, for those comments. And in addition of having to try and make sure the things we do in London are fair for everybody, if we do something that some people don't agree, not engage and give their position on something. So it is in your hands, and so if you should be involved in that decision. That's what we're trying to do.
Andrew,
Andrew, we can't hear you.
I
Your
think the
voice is really
BMA
cracking.
needs to give you a new microphone.
Yeah.
Probably easy lost it.
Julian, you over from it. Really nice system. I have seen.
And with whoever is not speaking, if they can switch their cameras, it concentrates the bandwidth towards the audio instead of the video. And
Yes,
you
I
can
agree.
switch your video on, and
Sorry.
in fact, it's preferable we get to know the faces. I mean, we're meeting after a long time. Okay.
Yeah. So about the previous talker that said that we don't ask for things. Say about my trust, SAS doctors have asked for different rates. It's a big issue which we had a long discussion with the management. At the end, we came to some sort of an agreement. It's not that we don't ask for things; we ask for things, but it's a lot more difficult as doctors to go through hoops than if you're a consultant. Let's get that straight. It's not because SAS doctors don't ask things, it's just a lot more difficult, even when how things progress.
So I think, was that Ivor?
That
Yes,
was.
yes,
So, right. Okay. So I'm going. Can you hear me better now? Is that better? So, taking on board everything that people have said, I think it's very dissatisfaction, that there is a stirring that people want to get involved with taking something forward and getting organised properly. In the future, things are different, and that we maybe address and do things in a different way. That's one of the things that's shown to be successful so far in the way in which we're two groups. The thing is, you might not get what you asked for, but you've damn well put a good argument forward, and you have stuck together and you've done the best you can do. At the end of the day, if the government wanted to say, well, I'm going to half your pay, I suppose they have the power. So you're voting in this process by being involved. You get yourself involved, and there's about 50 people come on this call today, which is actually very good for an early evening meeting. But we need to get more and more involved on the what people feel included. So I'm going to suggest a way forward from moving Imran's presentation and the questions and the COFAR, and think about how we develop and implement a plan. Now, I'm looking, you can't see me because my camera's off, but I'm looking at Sandy, Vikram, and so I'm going to suggest to you both, because I'm being asked by BMA Central, who are the new chairs of those two, and of course we haven't had the meeting to do that. I'm going to suggest that you stay in those posts going forward when we get the election sorted, and then you might be in them anyway because you get re-elected, but that's for people's votes. If you're both happy with it, if else has an objection to that suggestion as the fairest way forward, I'll come back and ask people to do one of the reactions in a minute to make sure that feel disenfranchised by that suggestion. But alongside it, I want to suggest that a small group of you become like an action committee. So a number of people from the north, a number of people from the south. Imran has done a lot of work on this because he's chair at his trust, and so I'm sure he'll be keen to help and support and take forward some of this, and so that we can build that meets those 12 action points that the Central SASC Committee has suggested. It's for people to volunteer, but we want people to volunteer who are then going to take action and help across the area. Does anybody want to wave at me, or what reaction can we do? Let's have a look. There's one that's surprised. This is the surprised reaction. If you're very surprised at that question and think it's terrible, or you can tap. If you think, yeah, let's do that now. Now then, want of BMA House television.
And Andrew, your microphone is now breaking up again.
Oh God.
It was great. It was great. Should we take a? Should we because I know Iman has been hanging on. I know you need to leave, Andrew, in 8 minutes, but Iman has been hanging on for a while, and I think she's wanted to say something. Is that all right?
Thank you very much, Imran. I'm just wondering about the timing for any strike action from SAS doctors. I've been to the junior doctors strikes. I've been very supportive to the consultant strikes, and will continue to be the same. The only issue I have with striking is that it is likely to be done without any collaboration from the other two major groups, and our numbers are, so any strike action we have, not being at work, the duties will likely be covered by consultant colleagues alongside junior colleagues. Impact of us not being at work, yes, we do provide a very good service, a highly specialist service, a consultant-like service, say whatever you like. The numbers may not be big enough to have the impact we want from an industrial action, unless we join up the dates with any of the impact might be really negligible.
Can I come in on that, Iman? I think that's a really great question and point. And where we are in a ballot, we can only go so fast because there's absolutely no point in doing a postal ballot if we haven't done it. And it's literally trip and fall at the first step. So we absolutely have to have an indicative ballot, and an indicative ballot is so much easier to run, and it just gives us that formal postal ballot. And obviously we can't really do anything over the summer, so it's likely to be September beyond when we do the postal ballot, etc. So realistically, we're looking at January before we actually have, even at the fastest pace, we have SAS strike action. I expect that doctors will still be striking at that point, because these are not quick fixes. This is a long-term campaign, and I totally agree with you. We will need to either join with the junior doctors or join with the consultants, which I think is more likely to be effective. Yeah, so timeline, and I agree. I think we have to join up with one of the other branches of practice.
Yeah, so all those points are really, really important and will be fed in. So I just look at Sandy from
Sorry, Andrew, we can't hear you. You're breaking up. Sorry, Andrew, could you repeat that?
You okay to figure out the foreseeable future while we sort things out?
I have to put that in the chat, Andrew, because I didn't get anything there.
Same, yeah, I didn't get any.
We couldn't hear you. Sorry, Andrew.
I think people on this chat that we're quite senior. We've done many years here, and whilst we can't necessarily consider ourselves to be called consultants, we may very well have the skill set of being consultants, and that's where, because we're actually providing more often than not a consultant level of care. My visa requirements when I came to this country, I could not be a doctor in training, and so this was my only option. But 16 years later now, more training than a doctor in my specialty. and I continue to provide that care and cover for the juniors, and I cover for the consultant. So it's not a small volume. Like we may not be. I think there's more of us than we think.
Yeah.
And
Matthew, you're saying, I think we're more aligned to consultants than we are to junior doctors, but I think it's also important to remember, because we always do this, particularly in the BMA, we always do this. We equate as being senior doctors, and most of us are, but we have to remember that there's a lot of us that aren't senior SAS doctors. You know, there's a lot of people who are relatively new in the SAS progression, and we have to represent them. But I think you're absolutely right.
Maybe that's our argument, is that actually SAS doctors are the elastic part of medical care, because we are actually at both, we're at all ends of the scale. We're doctors like me that came over to this country that was not allowed to be a doctor in training, yet still worked in that capacity. Maybe we are someone who's left the traditional training program because we found it too restrictive, we found it too obsessive, or it didn't fit with our life, it didn't fit, you know, because as doctors, we give up a lot. A lot of, I'm very lucky, thank you COVID. I'm one of the big COVID yay fans, because I got remote access. Managed to sort out a job plan where I could pick up my daughter at 3:30 after school, or after nursery, because they were the strict rules that I was given as a parent for nursery, and I was able to do that. So there's been a change in practice that we should also remember, in the fact that we can now do remote working, video consults, telephone are actually acceptable now, and it has been a big change to the way that we do and provide medical care. Obviously, as a rheumatologist, examine you, particularly if you've got connective tissue disease. If you're telling me that you've got a flare of your arthritic disease, yes, but that have been stable, that are on PIFU pathways, and are on all of the things that management want us to have them on, then telephone consults is not a bad thing. And this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this worldwide pandemic. So now we need to adjust this.
Thank you.
And now we can grow with this. But I agree that we are underrepresented. We're under.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to have a whinge, but.
So thank you, Matthew. I think that's valid points, and it's very true, and we all have different circumstances. Correctly put, this is a very wide group. We have a lot of junior representatives as well, junior doctors or doctors working at junior levels as well, and we got to represent them. Going back to the Iman's point, I think it would be more effective if we could combine with the consultant colleagues our industrial action, but that is something in the pipeline. We can discuss it later, and now we need to discuss and agree that we all wish to be on the same boat, and if that is the case, then we can go ahead with that kind of line and Imran kind of involving. I think the most important thing is involving. There's a number of people who work as SAS doctors who are not involved in this the main issue at the moment that we have, and they do not have a voice, and I think that is what we're trying to work at. So that is really one of the main and key issues. And there's lots of things about the new contract, Matthew, that we need to really sit down and discuss. It is very difficult to do it in this forum, and it is very person specific. So you need. I'm very happy to sit down with you and on a personal level and take you through that. But I think at this forum, it's very important that we discuss the wider issues that affect everybody. So I think and be together in this. That's what I feel.
So Sandeep, I put a message in the group, or sorry, in the chat, asking who wants to come forward and be kind of like a SAS in London. We'll form an action group. That way we'll be able to move this process forward. So just a few messages up. If you respond to, if you want to be a pay activist, then you can kind of join that kind of.
So I think answering that, I think Vikram and I will obviously be there because we are the the chairs of the. We are there, helping, supporting, and be part of that group. And I think we could change the name as Pay Activist to something else, so that it's something like, where you want to call it a committee for action or something like that. So what I mean is something which is more acceptable to everybody. So we can do that.
Yeah, just one thing is put her hand up for a long time. Can we just ask her to come in here? Yeah, Imran, are you okay to moderate?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I lowered my hand because I think all the things that I wanted to say have already been
No. Sorry. I think Andrew left, so somebody. I think Imran is happy to moderate.
Yeah. Speaking.
Yeah, and if you preferably switch the camera on as well, all the better, if you can.
So I think that committee or whatever for the pay activist thing, and I think we need to get people involved into that. That's very vital.
Yeah, so please make keen to be part of this, whatever you want to call it, activist committee or action group or pay reform committee, as Kajal has put it there. Sorry, did somebody was trying to come in, I think, and speak?
Yeah, Madakshmi, he said she lowered her hand. I don't know if she's.
Yeah, I'm not. I know I didn't want to say anything. Thank you.
That's all right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this meeting, to be perfectly honest, is a call to arms. We don't have much. See, this is we are posturing. Okay, so we have to do it given what's going to happen next year with the general. I think in the beginning there somebody asked a question about timelines. I think if you look at it for a ballot, we have to look at I think this is a leave period. We're looking after the meeting on the 20th. We are somewhere October, November. So we do not have much time. So, and we need everyone. We're not fighting each other. Anyway, we have to fight a common. If you want to use the word enemy, or a common cause. Okay, so we really need representation from everyone.
Thanks, Vikram. I'm just going to put the QR code in the chat for the SAS that we have. I think, as I said, we've got more than 200 members now on there. Yeah, it's really important because it's no matter how hard we engage, some people WhatsApp groups, some people will not be part of social media, some people will not look at their emails. We kind of have to use all methods really to get to people. I mean, as I say, a lot of us have been doing an awful lot of work with the junior doctor strike and the consultant strike, and what we find that has really worked is ward walks, which is just going around, taking an afternoon off clinics or lunchtime, an hour in lunchtime, and just walking through the entire hospital, finding all the doctors of a particular branch, and just having there might be an indicative ballot coming up for SAS. Do you know why it's important? And explain some of the things we've talked about in this meeting.
Can I just put the QR code of? I'm sure everyone knows how to use it, but you just need to open your camera on the phone that has WhatsApp enabled on it. As soon as it adds you automatically. It is the simplest way to do it, given that we haven't got each other's mobile numbers. So if you see anything like this, in our communication, I would suggest, given it's encrypted and when it is something to join, and this is the other way I think which is done it.
Okay, Kate, why don't you come in? Hi, Kate.
Hi, yeah, I guess it was just it's kind of need to engage with the people that aren't here, and I think if we could, you know, at some point think about the best ways to do that. I agree, you know, people in person. The trust I work in is East London Foundation Trust, but also has sites in Luton and Bedfordshire, people working in the community. You know, people are very, in particular, are very kind of dispersed. So I think any pointers that we can get for whether it's comms to make things very simple, I think that's what we need to do as early as possible, because otherwise, I know I'm a psychiatrist and I've just been, I'm sure you kind of heard about the Royal College affiliates being defeated at the AGM. I'm very aware of the kind of echo chamber effect of where people are all kind of agreeing and saying the same thing and being very clear, but then you kind of take it out to a wider audience and you kind of lose that strength. So yeah, I guess it's just really is how do we engage the people that are not on this call and are not in the WhatsApp group. I think if we could get that right, then we've got a much higher rate less in the ballot.
Thank you, Kate. And I think you mentioned in the chat something about the SAS advocates. So I'm you know, the SAS advocate position, but they are a good contact to have. So if you have a SAS advocate in your trust, they'll know, or they should know, most of the SAS right people that would be good to contact to get your message across. So make use of SAS advocates if you have them in your trusts. Okay. So we've had a few quite a few people offer to be part of this committee group, is focusing on the pay issue, and a huge thanks to everybody who's kind of volunteered. But at the end of this meeting, the end of it, if you want to volunteer yourself, please just you can private message me on WhatsApp, or you can message me on this Teams function, or get in touch.
Hi, Imran, just to chip in, I've counted, apart from yourself and the two chairs, I've counted 5 others for volunteer. That's a good starting point.
Yeah. Fantastic. Ideally, I think what we'd like to do is get one from every trust. Yeah, having gone through and that SAS WhatsApp group and tried to identify where people are from, I think we are missing quite a few trusts. So there will be SAS doctors, if not at all conscious of what's happening across London, and we need to reach them as well. So as chair of the regional committee, Vikram and Sandy will be reaching out to NNC chairs, etc., etc. We have a plan for that. Shantala has got her hand up.
Yeah, I joined a little bit late, sorry. There is a group tutors, they meet every 2 months. Mostly these SAS tutors are from all of and this meeting has been going on very successfully over the last 8-9 months, so to speak. Next coming up sometime in September, I think it's 3rd week. I'm actually not going to be there at that meeting. I'm away. That'll be one of the main forums wherein we can disseminate information. I will get in touch with the organizers Few SAS tutors I know within that group. I'll get in touch with them. I did actually speak to the Royal College lead. She is the SAS tutor lead for the whole of Royal College. I spoke to her yesterday, and as I know, what she said to me is that Royal College per se is not going to contribute anything in this. And as a Royal College SAS lead, she herself can't do anything much about it. About that, I believe very few SAS doctors compared to consultants or BMA members. I was discussing with her about the numbers. You see, consultants seem to have a big group and a big force, so to speak. The SAS doctors, as such, the representation is low, and on top, BMA membership is also very low. Regional wise, I don't know how you can reach out to each regions, but I'll try my best in this SAS tutor. Apparently, tutors from Northeast, various other parts of UK join this meeting. We can try our best.
Yeah.
I think we are the last group catching up, so to speak. You see, and what kind of a support we might get from the trust themselves. When I go into the management meetings,
I think Shantala has frozen.
Yeah.
Is she frozen for everybody else?
Yeah.
Shantala, if you could, thank you for that. And I think having
She's the SAS tutor of our trust, Central and Northwest London.
Okay,
Yeah,
super.
I think she works in a prison, so I doubt about the.
back.
Shantala,
Sorry,
you had
Shantala, you
frozen.
froze.
oh,
You're back
wow,
now.
did
Yeah.
I cut? All right,
No, no,
okay. I didn't realize that I was going on talking. Okay, yeah. Yes, disseminate the information.
Thank you.
Shantala, can I just ask, are you part of the SAS tutors WhatsApp group in London?
Yes. Yes,
Fantastic.
not the WhatsApp group, but we have a email kind of a contact.
I think that there's a WhatsApp group as well. I'm trying to send an invite to you as well, because it's funny, we're so disjointed because we have a group, but we don't have all of the SAS tutors on it.
Okay.
And to your point about management, I mean, management, you're not going to get anything from management. This is a pure, I would suggest that be WhatsApp and not involve, industrial action, and they don't give a toss. I mean,
No,
it's not going to happen.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.